is limited, so I'm just gonna let you get busy.
Yeah, perfect. Well, thank you. So yeah, you guys sent me the questions, so I'll do my best. Yeah, thanks for having me. And yeah, so first question is, how did you first get involved with becoming what we refer to you as superfood hunter? That's the first part of the question. So yeah, that was back, it goes back to when I was playing college football and I got hurt, sort of career-ending back injury, which then turned my whole trajectory of what I thought I was going to be doing and studying, and I decided to study physiology and nutrition, and kind of going down the road of healing myself and understanding the body. And then once I started learning, it just turned on this curiosity bug. And then after school, I did a lot of private counseling and rehab and a bunch of stuff. And I then started studying with a doctor, researching nutritional aspects. This was in the early 90s. And then I started tinkering with formulas and ingredients and foods and supplements. But it was really around 2005 where my father passed away, and it was the point where I'm like, okay, let's stop tinkering around and let's really do this. So I kind of made it my mission to start formulating and playing around with these things on a professional level. And I really took the idea of, if I'm going to formulate with these things, because I'm definitely not satisfied with what I'm seeing in the industry, then I actually have to show up and meet the farmers and go to the countries, because it just doesn't make sense to me just studying them and putting formulas and ingredients that were once food together without fully understanding the whole chain, especially coming from third world countries. So that's how the superfood hunting thing happened. It was out of my own necessity. And then I had every intention. I had formulas that I was creating, and I had every intention of doing it myself. And it was really kind of blowing through a bunch of money. And then serendipitously, a guy that was working for me ran into Isabel, and Isabel was starting to tinker with the idea with Carl about this shake, and she couldn't do it all herself. So we met, and it was kind of lightning. Her and I just clicked, and we've been connected on the nutritional and health understanding from the beginning. And then the promise of Carl kind of saying, hey, we're not going to compromise. You guys go ahead and make the best formula that you know how. And that's what we did. So that's how the superfood hunting, I was doing it for myself. And then, of course, with Beachbody and getting involved with that, I could continue that kind of adventurous side of me now with having a business purpose, which was awesome. Was there something in your life that triggered the journey? The triggers were getting hurt playing college football. And I go back, if you read my book, I go back even further, being a preemie, which kind of gave me a lot of issues in my life, which then got me to the point where foods and superfoods are necessary, and botanicals are necessary for our health and our well-being. And then the final trigger was losing my father in 2005 and receiving a little of that money. And that money I put towards expanding my knowledge and putting this stuff into practice. So those were the triggers. My why, which was the next question. My why is simply this. Why I do this is because I needed it as a young kid, and the industry, the food industry, the supplement industry is, from my point of view, does not have our best interest, and is a horrible situation. So I saw this gap, and it helped me. And so my desire is literally find the best foods, and in this case, supplements and ingredients in the world, test them so that they're safe, test them so that they have the bioactive compounds in them, preserving what it is that the reasons they've been used for thousands of years, and therefore pay that forward so that people can receive the benefits of something that's been, many of which have been consumed for tens of thousands of years. So my why is being a catalyst for these allies of botanicals so people can benefit, so they can live a bloody super life, so they can live a life that they don't have to be dragged around by the limits of their body. That's it for me. So I want everyone not to have a life based on the limits of their body, because we all know if you're sick, if you're tired, if you're weak, if you're having issues with your body, it's hard to dream, and it's hard to live your dream when your body's not functioning. So that's really the big why for me, and what fuels me to this day. Second question, what's the most interesting place you've gotten an ingredient from? God, they're all just so incredible. I tell you what, we're not currently getting it from there right now, but cordyceps at 17,000 feet in a small country named Bhutan in the Himalayas was and is like a different planet. It's just one of the most special places on earth. They run their country on gross national happiness, whereas they don't do things that is unsustainable. Surrounded by 20 of the highest mountains in the world. It's just a really special place. So it was the first time I saw wild cordyceps cultivation. So that's an astonishing place. So Bhutan, Bhutan. All right. Do you have a favorite superfood that is in Shakeology? Absolutely. They all kind of, it's kind of like children. You really don't love any one more than the other. And that's really the botanicals are for me, because if you learn about each one of them, they kind of have a special place in your heart. But I would have to say the big contributors of nutrition per ingredient, I mean, moringa is just so powerful, and a continuous project that I continue to work on in Africa, here in the States, and trying to continuously improve that growing process, drying process, cultivation process. And then chaga mushrooms. I named my dog Chaga, so that gives you an indication of one of my favorites. But again, Schizandra, ashwagandha, maca, like the adaptogens are such an amazing group of botanicals. And I give you a homework, actually. Pick one of your adaptogens in Shakeology and do some research. Just educate yourself. Look it up. Look at some of the amazing qualities and aspects and benefits of some of these botanicals, because you'll really be marveled at that. So, pick an astragalus or ashwagandha or the maca or Schizandra, or, pick one of those and just look it up. Spend 5 minutes and just look it up. Be familiar with the formula that you're consuming every day, and something then that you don't have to know everything. You don't have to be a nutritionist, but know what's going in your body, because it's really fascinating at what these botanicals can do for us. So that's why I love what I do. Are you currently exploring any new superfoods? Yes, constantly. Ingredients that might show up in Shakeology. You never know. There's some botanicals that just won't be able to work in like a dry mixture. It's a very careful drying dehydration process that in order to get a botanical, in order for that botanical to actually then synergistically work in the formula, which we've spent a lot of time making sure that that formula is synergistic. So not all ingredients will make it. There's a very interesting palm fruit that I'm looking into right now. It's got a lot of great high fat contents. It's called Batua. No one knows about it until you guys, but you can't climb the tree. It's very difficult. So friends of mine in Peru developed climbing techniques to get into the tree. So they came down. A lot of them work at UC Davis under research. So we spent some time together recently, and they left me some fresh Batua to play with. So anyway, I help people along the way because it's just something that I love. Whether we can fit it into Shakeology or not, it may not work, but it could happen in other formulations down the road. So who knows? But that's one. Can you summarize the life cycle of a superfood and how it gets to the doorstep? Yeah, I can. Obviously, each ingredient, so you have 60 plus ingredients, right? So we have tons of superfoods and botanicals and herbs and adaptogens and superfruits. So as you can imagine, each ingredient has its own journey because they're specific to how they grow. They're specific to how they when you cultivate them. They're specific to what are the constituents that we're trying to preserve. What are they sensitive to? Are they sensitive to light? Are they sensitive to heat? So each botanical sometimes has hundreds of different compounds. So you want to make sure you're preserving the ones that are very important to you. For example, camu, one of the highest vitamin C sources on the planet from a natural source. So I can give you an example of that, and then you can extrapolate on the differences of all of the journeys. But the journey goes that you find the suppliers, the growers, the cultivators, the wild collectors, whatever that may be, and then you make sure the environment is up to standards, that are not being exposed to unwanted toxins. The growing conditions are okay. So you set up that, you meet with the people, you look them in the eye, and then it goes to usually a facility in that country. So that facility needs to be approved, have many standards in place by the industry, but also by us. So we have audit teams that go around the world, literally. And this is where the value of Shakeology really starts to go way up, because many companies do not have the resources, the time, or the manpower to do what it is that I'm describing right now. So when they show up, they get to go into these facilities. They need to do the tests, do the audits, and most of those people, most of those companies in those countries fail. They inevitably just don't have the standards that we require. And so we have to kind of move to those next steps to help upgrade their systems. Some could be simple, some could be a lot, some could need new buildings. It's just, increasing their ability for safety, effectiveness, and quality. So that happens, and there's a lot of testing. There's also nutritional testing. There's also microbiological testing, contaminant testing, all of that, and then of course the auditing of the procedure of how this special ingredient gets dehydrated, processed, cleaned, and dried, right? So, and then when that happens and it's put in a, a sealed bag and box and sent to the US to our, one of our facilities, then it gets quarantined, and then all those tests are done again, right? So they're fingerprinted. There's great technology. I actually have a one that I use in the field right here. This is a little spectrometer. So I use this, and it kind of tells me the fingerprint of what that botanical is. So if a powder shows up and you're not looking at what that fruit or that herb is, you don't know. It could be anything, right? So we take the spectrometer, we see that it's the right botanical. It's like taking your fingerprint, right? You're Darin. How do I know that? We take your fingerprint. Okay, cool, you're Darin. And then it goes through the microbiological, goes through contaminants, goes through quality controls, making sure it has the active compounds that we want. And then, of course, it goes into a final, once we gather all the rest of the botanicals, it goes into the careful mixing. And then that mixing, then we test it again, right? And we've done a lot of research and development to make sure all of our botanicals are working together properly. And that's, again, you're limited by the interaction that they have. And since we have so many botanicals, there's a lot of work that goes into making sure that these botanicals are helping each other out, because there's a lot of things that can go on in alchemical and interactions within botanicals. And then we have enzymes, prebiotics, and probiotics. So there's a lot going on in that formula. So once that's mixed and then that's tested and deemed safe, then it's, put in that beautiful bag. And from the corners of the globe, all of those botanicals end up in that bag, and conveniently, you guys get this on your doorstep. And I have to say, being out in the field for better part of 15 years, you're lucky. You're lucky from many aspects. You're lucky that it doesn't cost $500. You're lucky that we have quality controls in the industry that are far superior than many, and that we're making sure what's in that bag is in that bag. I can tell you that being behind the scenes in the industry, there's a lot of people that just by naivete and not being out in the field and understanding this process, that they're just buying and selling commodities. They're just looking to go, hey, I just want Camus in my product. So, you go to the half a dozen commodity buyers, they find it for you. It says it on their spec sheet. So they're like, cool, it's Camus. How different can it be? If all of you can see, go to my Instagram, Super Life Living, and check out the different moringas that I put on that page. That will give you a visual that will show you that all of those moringas are completely different, but you really wouldn't know that because it's just being sold. They're just being sold, and usually the cheapest price. And so therefore, it's like Wild West. People don't know what the hell they're buying. And my point of view, I told you the reason why I do this, so that you guys can benefit, your bodies can. If I was just selling this stuff and buying the cheapest, yeah, exactly. If I was buying the cheapest brown beat up powder and telling you all of the wonderful benefits of it, then you wouldn't be receiving the benefits that it truly has, and I would just be making money. But that's not why I'm here. And luckily, from the top down, Carl promised Isabel and promised me that he wouldn't compromise on the ingredients. And sometimes we have to change because ingredients, the suppliers and supply issues and stuff happens, but we're always going to continue to improve the formula. So anyway, that gives you a pretty accurate understanding of a life cycle, the journey of an ingredient. How many countries have I been in? Gosh, 30, 35 countries or so, I think. Um, um, and always willing to go and multiple, back and forth to the same ones. I just recently was in Brazil, one of my most favorite places in the Cerrado in the savannah of Brazil. It's incredible, incredible botanical extravaganza. Okay, so we have heard a rumor, oh geez, that yeah, that you have made some type of bar. So here's the thing. I made a bar 15 years ago. And to this day, people say it was the best bar that they've ever had. Now that was probably a $20 a bar bar. It was incredible. And I always hope that that bar will come back. I would say bug Carl. It's very difficult. I will say this. It's very, very difficult to create a bar that's very good and not be very expensive. It's a tricky thing. Powders are easier, but bars are difficult, and we've started and stopped a few times over the years. But I would say bug them. I have some new ideas, and I'm game. Like the bar is it's kind of like my first baby. It's kind of like my first formulations. I was doing a lot of that kind of work. So anyway, so nothing on the horizon yet, but hopefully we can fire up that engine. Because I love formulating. Okay, so next one is, will we ever see combo flavors of Shakeology like cookies and cream and strawberry banana? Probably. I mean, cookies and cream is kind of a weird flavor because it's so much of the flavors are so botanically driven. Like vanilla is vanilla, strawberry is strawberry, and once you start getting out of that, and like even cafe latte, that was inspired by a nut that I had been exposed to in the Yucatan. And it was very coffee-like. As far as I know, there's no botanical that tastes like cream other than if it's coconut cream, right? And then cookies, I mean, I'm sure there's a way. It would be kind of fun to play with that. And this is, of course, inspired by natural flavors and botanicals without going down the artificial road, obviously. There's a lot of cookies and cream out there that you couldn't pay me, literally couldn't pay me thousands of dollars to consume, because there was no way I would put that in my body. So, but there's probably definitely nothing in the horizon, but as of now, because we're doing a lot of improved, there's a lot of cool, how can I say it without saying it? There's a lot of efficiencies we're working on that's actually, from the nerd in me, very exciting, that will make the formula even more powerful. So there's a lot of stuff happening. Okay, so if you drink Shakeology daily, do you still need a vitamin and mineral? Well, the vegan formulas obviously don't have any added vitamins and minerals. We did that for a reason, because everyone's different anyway. We thought that originally, when we were calling it a meal replacement shake, that we had to have, obviously there's vitamins and minerals in the vegan, there's vitamins and minerals in the botanicals, but the reason why you have to, when you're putting on the facts label, you have to have standardization in order to put them on the facts label, because foods fluctuate. So that's why it's not on the bag of the vegans, but you're still getting from the botanicals. The original formula, well, we have set values and we added that in. But to answer the question, every person is different. those values are based in very solid research of our research and development team at levels that are good for the general population. That being said, I do nutritional testing by functional medicine doctors twice a year to make sure that I'm getting all of the vitamins and minerals and antioxidants and things. So I get testing. You only know unless you actually, do some work, get some blood work, and see, because we're all individuals. We all have different stressors. I don't know what your genetic disposition is. I don't know what your stress life is. I don't know what you've been exposed to. So it's impossible to know and to say generally, I wouldn't know. But what I would say is you're getting from the original formula, you're getting solid, researched, general vitamin and mineral amounts. And you're also getting naturally occurring amounts from the botanicals. But also, I always encourage people to investigate your body, to understand it, get a blood work, couple $100, and get a. I would recommend not a normal doctor, because a normal doctor knows virtually nothing about nutrition. So get someone who has a naturopath, functional medicine doctor, one that studied nutrition, could still be an MD, whatever. So do some research. It's good for you and your family anyway, okay, to understand what your body needs. Because if you're off one degree, one vitamin or mineral, it can, and you add that up over time, that could throw you off and create a whole host of things. So, we're constantly under stress and under need all the time. By the way, that's kind of the reason of individual need as to why we created the boosts, so that you could start being the creator of your own destiny. If you're not getting enough greens, then why the hell wouldn't you boost, right? If you're feeling you need a little extra energy, well, we're not only giving you some guarana and some other great caffeine producers from the Amazon, but we're giving you a whole host of other adaptogens in that formula as well. If your digestion's not doing so well, obviously the digestive boost. So that's the idea of, like, listen, we're all dealing with different things in our life, so you can be the alchemist of your own life. That was the idea anyway for the boost. Okay, so can you safely drink 2 shakes a day? Of course, you can safely drink 2 shakes a day. I wouldn't do it on a consistent basis. If you're using it to not eat food and all of that stuff, we didn't make it. We made it to fill in the gaps. We didn't make it for people to continuously, not. It'd be like saying, well, drink 2 shakes a day and don't sleep. You know what I mean? It's like, you need to eat sensibly. You need to get rest. You need to drink water. You need to get your superfoods in, because we're stressed out of our minds. We're losing nutrients from our foods. So that's why the shake was also the reason we put that together. So do it sensibly, but there's definitely many times I've been on the road, I couldn't find food that I was happy with, and I doubled up my shakes, no problem. But use your common sense. What's your favorite flavor and recipe? I'm so complex in my formulations, but now I'm so simple. It's kind of like, so my favorite flavor probably is the strawberry vegan. I mean, I love the, with 10 ounces of blueberries frozen, with a little shot of coconut milk and the strawberry vegan, and keep it really, really thick. I kind of love that idea of really thick and fruity, and I just find that I always go back to the trial. So very simple, actually. And sometimes I'll take the baru nuts that I found in Brazil and throw those on, or some almond butter or some sort of thing, and it's fantastic. So from one of our coaches, I don't one of our coaches with food restrictions, she wants to know how many grams of oat protein are in a serving of vegan Shakeology. I don't know if I can share the proprietary amount, but I would say this: if you are that worried about that reaction, then I would absolutely consult your functional medicine doctor or healthcare provider. If you are that sensitive, then I would stay away. It's not and that being said, there's probably a whole bunch going on with your digestive system that needs to be addressed and healed. Unfortunately, we are in an epidemic where our digestive system, especially women, digestive systems are getting the crap beat out of them by pesticides and herbicides and glyphosates and things like that. There's a whole host of information that's going to be coming out about that. And also poor processed foods obviously are causing issues, and stress and exposure to over-the-counter medications can cause disruptions of your digestive system. So that's what I would say to this person who's concerned about food sensitivities, food allergies, food restrictions, that making sure that you're going at the source of the disruption of what's going on in the digestive system, because what's going to happen is the laundry list of foods that you will not be able to eat will continue to go up because of the inflammatory response of what's going on. So that's what I would say with that. I would read between the lines and kind of say that. So anyway, that's
I know we're out of time. Unless you want to talk for like 3 more hours. No, he's got stuff to do. I cannot thank you enough for this. This is amazing, and I know everyone feels the same way. So we are very, very thankful for your information, knowledge, and time. So thank you so much.
Where does everyone come from on this call? Texas.
We're everywhere. Indiana, California, New York, South Carolina. Pennsylvania. Right. We're everywhere.
New York.
Yay. Oh. Nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Chicago.
Yeah, Midwest. Get them. They need it.
Isn't that the truth?
California.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good. Okay.
Thank you, Darin.
Hey, it was my pleasure.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Grateful. Keep kicking ass. Learn a little bit.
Amen.
Do some homework on some of those ingredients, and it goes a long way. Just kind of fully understanding some of what's happening in that formula. So thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Darin. Bye. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Bye.